Hi everyone, how are you? Valerie, how are you? I see familiar faces here. Valerie jumping in. Hey
Hi
Valerie.
there. Hey.
I see Sandra is connecting. I wanted to give some folks maybe a couple more minutes to jumping. We have quite a few people who had registered. I want to give them a chance to jumping here before we get started. So I see so this is going to be a kind of very interactive webinars. Probably like many of you, I hate presentations, so I'm not your speaker of the house. I'm not going to have a presentation kind of thing to share with you throughout the entire webinar. But I'd certainly love if you can talk back to me and let me know if you can hear me. We'll use a chat, but we'll keep this as interactive as possible throughout this period. So let me see what I can bring up on my screen initially, just to show you a thing or two. I see. I'm going to say hello to some folks I'm seeing here. Sandra, hello. I've seen Adrienne, I hope I pronounced that right. Hi. And I see Victoria. It's great to have you guys here. We're gonna get started shortly in about 2 minutes, just allowing some other folks to jump in here, so we can get this ball rolling. Jan, I think you gotta allow me to share my my screen because I'm not able to share. So if you can do that, that'd be great.
Done. Just have a look.
Awesome. All right. So let me bring up my screen here. We're gonna get rolling now anyways. So I'll be stopping in between my presentation, if you may, and this is going to be a lot sort of a walkthrough. So I'm going to kind of jump off and show you a couple things, jump back on the presentation so that you can see. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ricardo Berris. I invited you here to hang out with me for about 45 minutes. We're going to be talking about just kind of conducting your own digital audit. So we're in the marketing space, and so we're technical marketers, and you'll hear more about who we are further down. But basically, I want to really assure you that an digital assessment or an audit is actually a real thing. It's something that if you're a digital native company, or if you have any ambitions at all of building your digital presence, an audit or an assessment, some people would say, is critical. So we really want to learn how to actually do that, show you a thing or two on how you can actually do that yourself. And this is for Q2 because we're now entering into Q3. And I think if you understand kind of what happened in Q2, or how to kind of brace yourself for Q3, and then there's also Q4. So we like to kind of do an audit every quarter and just kind of reassess where we are so that we can figure out where we're going. We all have goals, at least I assume so. And those goals are typically connected back into one, improving our digital presence. I'm sure, how do we get the best out of our digital presence? So one of the first thing that I'd like to ask you to do is inside the chat, I'm going to be asking you to do one of maybe 4 things. The first thing is I'm going to be asking you to put the word meeting in the chat. This doesn't mean that a meeting is going to be a meeting with me or my team. whether after this conversation or later down. It doesn't mean that you're going to be my next client, because that's kind of like hard to do. But it really simply means that you want to have a conversation within the next 24 hours. You want to be contacted to actually have some time to speak about maybe more intimately about an audit or an assessment for you. So that's one. So if you would like that, put the word meeting in the chat. Secondly, if you would like to give me a referral, put the word referral in the chat. If you know someone in your network that could use a conversation like this or might value a conversation like this, go ahead and put referral inside the chat as well. And then, of course, if you think a speaking engagement would be ideal, have me speak to a group or in an intimate form or whichever form, you can go ahead and put speaking engagement in the chat. And if you have any other questions for me, you can put questions in the chat, and then we'll ask you to share those questions. If none of those apply to you, you can just put no in the chat too, and that means we can still be friends. We can still send you some love from across the street, but I will not be connecting with you in 24 hours. I mean, you can still be on our list, and we'll still communicate and still just kind of be happy. But this webinar, perhaps for you, is going to serve more like an edutainment, just something to help you. And so if none of those apply to you, then I just kind of want to put that up front so you know exactly why we're doing this at the end of the day. So so let's get on with it. So we want to talk about doing a digital audit. And so why do we want to do that? Well, first of all, our goals are to really conduct an audit to help us determine what are the techniques and tools that we can use to facilitate that. We want to ensure that you know how to conduct your own audit. And then, of course, if you have questions, then we want to entertain those questions. And if you have any questions, we can also take those at the end as well. But we have a special surprise that we'll be sharing with each of you who have made it this far to our webinar. We'll share that with you. So, and we do a webinar every month, and we want to let you know what the other webinars are going to be like, but you can always stay tuned for that. Like I said, I'm Ricardo. I'm a part of several organizations, including Goldman Sachs, 10KSB. I'm a part of the Branson Centre of Entrepreneurship. I'm also a SCORE mentor in Atlanta, North Metro. And I created the MI group of companies about 12 years ago. And recently created a startup brand called Purposely, which is a commerce brand. And so one of the things that we do is a lot of digital assessments and audit. And this is really an in-depth assessment of existing goals that you might have, strategies or systems and performance, and really also understanding where you are so that you know where to go. And that's super important. And so why do you want to do it? Like, why do you recommend people to do an audit? Well, first of all, we've got to set yourself up for success. When we do an assessment, it's really to understand what's happening now. How do we get ourselves out of the dark where our digital marketing is concerned? How do we find answers to performance questions, for example? How do we discover opportunities that's going to allow us to optimize our effort? How do we pave the way for a functional roadmap? And so that's part of why we do an assessment, and this is a big part of how do you actually do it. Now, if you have done an audit before, if you've done an assessment before, please share in the chat. Yes, you have done an assessment before, or this is your first time. If you've never done it before, please also share that. Feel free to let us know. Now, conducting an audit, it usually takes time, and a lot of times it's a deep audit can take between 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes it can take 1 week, depending on the data that we're collecting. A lot of times we need access to accounts, so you need to have access to accounts that maybe you don't have access to now. Or if you have a team, you just really need to ensure that you can access the accounts where the data has been pulled from, and then you also need tools that's going to help you to save hours of manual work. And so we'll share some of those tools to speed up that effort in terms of the audit. So if you've not done it before, this is great, because now this is something that you can do. So what are the types of audits that you can do? Well, at our firm, we actually do somewhere about 11 or 12 different types of audits. And we basically assess everything. And you notice I'm interchanging audits and assessment, because some people prefer assessment, some people prefer audit. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax person, and that's kind of how you typically associate those words with. But it's the same thing that we're talking about in terms of the process of really kind of evaluating where things are to figure out where we want to go. So we do social media, email audits, search engine optimization audit, content audit, conversion audit, MarTech, which is a marketing technology audit, which is very interesting because a lot of people are not familiar with that term. Today, a lot of small businesses are still unfamiliar with that term. Funnel audit, we do analytics audit, we do competition audit, paid outreach, performance audit. So as you can see here, there's already about 10 to 11 different types of audit that's possible. Now, we're not going to get through to all of these today, but what we're going to do is to touch on some of the key ones that are essential. And as you get used to doing this every quarter, you're going to find out that it becomes easier. You know what to look for. You know exactly what tools you're going to use to help you. And you can work with your team to get these things done and just really provide that report. Now, at the end of the day, having a dashboard or a data dashboard that provides you with insight on these things is super helpful, because now you can use that to refer to that on a quarterly or monthly basis. We have dashboards that we refer to weekly to really help us, and sometimes even several times of the week to really help us to see where are we going, and if we're going in the right direction. And like we normally say in our firm, if it's working, we're going to amplify it. So we're going to do more of it. But if it's not working, we're going to modify it. And so, but what we're not going to do is to stop, because once you stop, then you basically kill the game. And so we've got to keep turning those wheels really fast, and we've got to come with two results: either it's working or it's not working. And as we learn more about each of those events, then we need to take action. So I'm going to start with a marketing tech audit. So marketing technology. So these are basically technology tools that are really designed for marketing purposes that can actually be used on your website. And so we can help you. We're going to show you how to see what technology other sites are built with, third-party tools, whether it's analytics tools, tracking tools, emails. We're going to use this tool called Wapalizer. So I'm going to jump off my presentation here, and I'm going to show you what this tool is. So if you would like to volunteer, and this is something that I typically ask, if you want to volunteer and we use your website, I can do that, or we can use just any other site. And so if you'd like that, you can share it in the chat, and we can actually use that. But I'm going to go with just about any other site. So let's say we're going to go with, let me just try to find a quick site that might be helpful. So let me see here. So I've got a ton of tabs, and this is one of the things that I typically don't encourage people to do unless you know what you're actually doing. So here's a site. It's called Launch Darkly. Again, put in the chat if you're open to us kind of auditing your site with a tech tool. Feel free to put that in there. I'm happy to chat about your site, and that's totally okay. But in Google, I'm using the Google browser, and there's a tool that actually, which is the Wapalizer, which is this tool here. So if you look carefully on my screen, you'll be able to see this tool that I'm able to click. It's called Wapalizer. And to use Wapalizer, you can use Wapalizer in any of your browser, but I love using it on Google Chrome. If you go to Google Chrome and you go to wapalizer.com, you'll get the option to download this add-on, and it will be added to your browser. And once it's on your browser, it shows up right here with a little, almost kind of a little S or W written sideways, if you may, like this. And it shows you immediately like the number of tools. So this is showing 19. It shows you the number of tools that is possibly being used on this website. So I don't know who these guys are. So, I mean, I have them here in my browser. I think I might have been checking some stuff out with them, but I'm going to just check to see, hey, what kind of tools are they actually using on their website? So Wapalizer is going to actually help me to do that. So I click on it. And as you can see here, it gives me several different tools that are being used on this site, right? And it also categorizes the tools for me, which is what I like a lot, because, for example, there's a CMS. So it's a CMS, which is for content management system. It allows me to see, okay, this site is using Prismic. If I've never heard about Prismic before, and you can click on it, and what it does, it will allow you to see how many sites out there are using Prismic. It gives you some data, right? And it gives you an opportunity to see whether or not Prismic is a good fit for you. And this is a CMS, right? Which is pretty cool. And so as you actually do that, that actually helps you to figure out, okay, do you actually want this? But we're talking about marketing technology tools here. So we're going to stick to the marketing piece of it. And a CMS will make certain sense for you if, of course, you are building a presence on the web. You need a place where you can manage your content. Other website, as you'll see, is going to have CMS like WordPress and so forth, which is totally fine. From a marketing perspective, we see that there's advertisement happening. So this site is driving traffic through AdRoll, which is an advertising platform for managing ads. We see that they have analytics set up there. So they're actually using analytics, whether it's Google Analytics, they're using the Google ad tracking, they're using Cora Pixel. They have a widget here, which is Marketo Form, which is Marketo is also a marketing platform. And again, if you're ever curious about any one of these tools, you can click and you can learn more about each of the tools here. But why are we doing this? Why is this necessary for you to actually do on your own site? Well, you do it on your own site, but I also love doing it on the site that are alternatives to the ones that we operate. So if you are in the same business where you're providing a software tool, you can visit other software websites to look at what tools are they actually using to create the success that they're having on their site. And you can pretty much adapt those tools, because success is really about figuring out what's the benchmark, what's a good benchmark, and who is doing what we're actually doing and how we can level up, right? And so this is going to actually help you right here to figure out right away, what are some of the things that your competition is doing that you are not doing? And so you see there's a tag manager. So we've got Google Tag Manager in there. And you can see other things here that are marketing related. There's retargeting happening as well. And there's marketing automation. So these are key categories in marketing to really help your website to function and to do great. So if we move and go, for example, we go look at another site, we'll see exactly what another site like that might have. So let me just go to another random site, and I'm going to go to this site, which is this site is a US Black business site. So I'm going to just go to this site, and I just want to see again what this site has in terms of tools. This site has a few tools, and you see here they've got like 13 tools, and then we can now look to see what do they have on their site that might be helping them to create success. And if these guys were a competition for me or an alternative, then I can instantly see what are they doing there that actually can help me to create success. So as we see here on this tool, they're using WordPress, of course, but we see here they're using e-commerce tool on here, We see their analytics tool. They've got Facebook Pixel, they've got Exact Metrics, and they've got Google Analytics. What we didn't see here, for example, is the marketing automation that we saw on the previous site, which means that maybe there's not a way here that they're using to collect data from customers who visit the site. So you notice here that the tools are slightly different. And that's because there are thousands and thousands of tools out there. A lot of them sometimes do the same things, but a lot of them are also very different. And so just looking at this site, you can begin to see some of the things here that you might want to look at. For example, for your site, if you are competing with some organization like this. So analytics, there's e-commerce there, of course. We also see they have Hello Bar here, and there's Google Analytics. So these are cool tools to really help to facilitate your performance on your website. And then there's not much left. I mean, all the other ones are very much kind of programmatic in nature. So if you're not technical, then you might not understand the UI framework and the web servers and the JavaScript graphics, and those are provided by the tool too. But our focus is marketing technology. So we're really just zooming in on the piece that actually helps to do better marketing or to be a better marketer. And so again, ideally, you can share, you can share your competitor's site, pull up a few of your competition, look at what they're actually using. So let's do one more. Let's find another one. And again, feel free. You can volunteer, right? And feel free to share your site if you want us to kind of take a deep dive on it. Here's another site. And this is another site, which is also an organization that is promoting Black businesses, etc. And so we're going to take a look at this site. So what I'm doing, I'm comparing. So if you remember what we pulled up on the previous site in terms of the tools, then you'll be able to see some of the things that are either here or not here. So for example, what was missing on the other site was the Yoast SEO. So you notice there's an SEO tool here that this site is using called Yoast. And if you went back to the previous site, you notice that tool was absent. The site is also using WordPress. So this is a WordPress site, and that's fine. They're also using Google Analytics, which is great because you need to be able to monitor your traffic and monitor your data as it comes to, as visitors come to your site. And we notice here that they're also using, of course, there's a WordPress plugin, but that seems to be all they're actually using. We don't see anything, for example, for marketing automation here. So we see they're using Amazon Web Service, and we see a little more of a tech nature kind of tools that are being used, but nothing much as it relates to marketing automation. But if we went to the previous site, which was the first site we went, if you remember the first site we went to, which was Launched Darkly, and we went and looked at some of the other tools that was here, you notice that there's a slight difference in terms of the kind of tools. There's marketing automation, there's Google Tag Manager, there's advertising there. And so that's always interesting. And that's one of the things I love about this tool. An alternative to Wapalizer is built with, and you can also go to built with and kind of put a domain in for someone that you'd like to look at, for a website you'd like to look at, and see exactly what comes up there. So that's tool number one. That the first thing that we kind of like to do is to take a look and see what are the marketing technology tools that we're actually using to grow our digital presence, and why aren't we using some of these tools that are essentially out there. And feel free, if you've got questions, then you can ask the questions in the chat. So this tool is Wapalizer with a W, and you can find Wapalizer by going to wapalizer.com, and you can install it on your browser. I've installed this on my Google Chrome browser, and it allows me to quickly see, once I load a website, it allows me to see the marketing technology tools and other tools, of course, that the website is using. And if I'm competing with this business, then I typically want to kind of keep an eye out on what are they doing to grow and how they're actually growing with these tools. and how can I adapt, or how can I use those tools to actually help me to grow my business as well. So that's number one. So we're going to go back to the presentation, and let's look at the other tool. So the other tool, of course, the other tool is your SEO tool, which is a very popular thing. So your search engine optimization audit. How do you do a search engine optimization audit? You're really wanting to look for SEO on all of your pages, whether it's your content, your local SEO, your on-page SEO, your website speed, your performance, any broken links, anything like that. And you can use these tools. So these are some tools that you can use, whether it's Google My Business, which is a good place to start. If you are not on Google My Business, then that would be one tool that I would try to use to scan to see if my business is there. If your business is there, you can always ensure that your businesses remain updated on Google My Business. Then there's GT metrics. There's GT metrics and there's Think with Google. So what's cool about GT metrics, and I'm going to bring GT metrics up for you to see what's interesting about GT metrics as we pull it up. So why don't we go to GT metrics and I show you what I'm actually talking about. And it's part of why we like GT metrics, and we can find one of the sites that we are working on, for example, and put it in there. So if we were to bring up, let's say, Launch Darkly, which is one of the sites we were just looking at just now, we put launchdarkly.com in here. And what GT metrics is going to do, it's actually going to scan and see what's happening here at the site. It's going to give the site a grade, and from that grade, it will actually help you to work maybe backwards, if you may, to go back to getting a grade A, because it's the grades are from A to F. And I would like to introduce a tool that we have that does pretty much a similar thing. And I'll talk more about that tool, because we've created what we call a digital hub. And the digital hub for us allows for you to be able to actually do that and request a report that helps you to understand exactly what are some of the opportunities to improve. So I want you to succeed. And so I don't want you to have to use the tools that we are using, but I want you to have options that you can use these different tools to see how can you improve your digital presence. Because Q2 has happened and we're getting ready. We're already in Q3. I mean, there's August around the corner and September brings the end of Q3. And so how is Q3 going to be different from Q2 in terms of your digital performance? So as you can see, the Google GT metrics, while scanning, it gave the site a C. And this is for several reasons. And all these reasons are listed here. And it tells you, okay, there is a 29 milliseconds load time here. There's an onload time of 898 milliseconds. And it's telling you why, right? Why the site is not getting the best in terms of the performance. And so if this was my site, and I'd be looking at, okay, what do I need to do to get this site to an A? And so that's the that's the beauty about this site, like the GT metrics. And this is not our tool, but it helps in any way to give us an idea as to what is that we need to do to get a website that performs. Because again, a website that's fast, have no problem with visitors. If your website doesn't load fast, if it's not responsive to mobile, it can affect your conversion, which is important. And so this is something that you'd pay attention to. Now on GT metrics, the issues that are found, you simply can go in and you can use the recommendation that they share here, talk with your marketing person or your developer and have them improve on this for you. And you can rerun this kind of scan over and over until you get to a place where you are an A. And so that's pretty decent, because I think this is really helping you to figure out where are you, and obviously how do you get to where you need to go. So we have a website which is called MI Digital Hub, and on MI Digital Hub pretty much allows for you to get a digital report. I'd love to share this with you. I'm going to put it in the chat, or Janae, you can put in the chat for me. And this tool will allow for you to generate a report. Now, this report that you're going to generate will give you a perspective. Again, because we're here to help you to be successful, what this tool is going to do, and after a few minutes, because it will take a couple of minutes to generate a report and give you some status. What this is going to do, you get your report, you fill this information up, and in a few minutes after waiting, it will send you an email with a report that will be ready for you. And that's going to cover things like your listing. How are you as it relates to your listing, your directory listing? How are you as it relates to your reviews? How are you as it relates to your social media? How are you as it relates to your website? Your commerce, if you have commerce going on your site, like e-commerce, or you're transacting, how are you faring where that's concerned? So the tool grades you from an F to an A. And yes, it is sometimes a little sad to see that you get a grade F or so. And I want to show you a live version of it in a second. But what is amazing about this tool is that it touches on all these categories for you and give you some perspective. It gives you some ideas of exactly what you need to do to improve yourself. So it gets you out of the dark. It gets you into this place of known so that you can work on improving those things. And we all want that. And so this is a big part of why we share this. So you get a 360-degree view of this tool. So go ahead and submit your request to generate this, and you'll see some of the things that we talked about, we're talking about in our presentation. You'll definitely see it. So on the SEO front, you're going to also see that. There are other tools that you can use if you want to get a broader picture of SEO. I mean, a lot of the tools does similar things. Of course, we're constrained with time, so we're not going to touch on every single tool. I just want to give you something to work with. I just want to give you something to get started with, to get your wheels turning and figure out, here's where we are, but this is not where we're supposed to be. This is where we want to go. So you can look at Location Scan, Webby, Web Spider. You can use Think with Google. These are some tools that you can use, run your website through them, see how they're actually helping you to perform. There are some more tools that we've used, and we use these tools. I mean, we're in the space, but you can use these tools as well, because these tools, for the most part, are available to anybody. SEMrush and Google Keyword Planner, your BuzzSumo, your HubSpot website grader, your Hrefs. So we're not just talking about the tools that we create at the Digital Hub. We're talking about any other tool that you can go, Screaming Frog, SpyFu. You can use Moz Pro website crawl and test your site. So these are several different types of tools that you can go on and use them and see exactly how they actually turn out. Now I want to show you perhaps just glide you quickly to a result of one of the tools. So the Digital Hub that we use, pretty much this is the access that you will get to your report, and this is actually a real business that we're running through the hub, and it's giving us information on how do we help this business to address some of the issues that they're actually having digitally, right? So their listing right now, it's at a B. The reviews is at a B, and the highest grade that you can get is an A, right? And so their reviews at a B, but their social is at a D, and their website is at a C. The e-commerce, they don't do e-commerce. This is an attorney. They don't do e-commerce, but what we can do, we can take the e-commerce off the report to make it a little more comprehensive. Because if you're not an e-commerce site, if you're not selling anything on your website, maybe you don't want to be reported about that or on that. And so we can take that off. Advertising, if you're not advertising, then the report is not going to grade you if we don't find any ads that you're running. And then there's also SEO. So you get literally like 7 different categories already right away once you submit a request to generate a report, and you will be in a position to go in and look at this. So as we're looking here on the listing, you see where we're using Google, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as some of the top tier listers that your website should be listed on. So in this legal industry, there are like 65% of the industries are actually on Google. So we're telling you as well who else is doing this. And so in your industry, you have the option of putting your competition or the industry that you work in. And what we will do here, the system will tell you what's happening in the industry or with the competition. And so we use the industry here, and you can see on Facebook, there's like 71% of the industry players are actually listed on Facebook and so forth. We didn't find anything on Instagram, so if it's not found, then we'll tell you, and you can now go in and kind of fix it. So it shows you here on the listing, there's 68 sites that are available, which is 68 listing sites that your site would be available on. It shows you the accuracy, and it gives you the list. Okay, if you've got an incorrect number, there are 3 places that you need to correct that. There's an incorrect address. There's an incorrect website. If there's anything that's missing, it will actually show you here. Your opportunity is around for listing. Actually, there's an opportunity of around maybe 700 plus listings on the internet that you can list your business, and you do that to get found, because when you're on something like Google or Yelp or Bing Maps, that actually helps you to show up in results. And so you will find in the report what's accurate, what's not found, and where you have possible errors. And you can view all of those things in a report. So this is not a PDF report where you can't do anything with it or interact with it. This is providing you details on how do you address these things, right? And so you can have a discussion with your web person or your marketing person, and you can allow them to work on this for you. So these are some of the major data providers, right? So Data Axle and Newstar, Foursquare, and it shows you, okay, here's where you might have an error, here's where this is accurate, and those things can be checked and corrected. And that's going to help you with your presence on the web, because again, we're all about helping you to succeed. System also is going to show you another component of the report, which is your reviews. It's going to show you, okay, here's your business, here's the industry, here are the industry leaders. And we found 24 reviews. You've got reviews on Google, you've got reviews on Facebook. The industry average is 2, so you're already above that. But the folks who are leading in the space, they've got top 73 reviews. And so we look at reviews that happen per month. And within the last 6 months, how many reviews were you able to get? What's your average review score? All right. And this works for you if you have a customer facing kind of business, a retail business, or you deal with end consumers. We've seen it work with B2B too, because you get folks going on and leaving reviews who you might serve who are from other businesses. But it gives you that again, it's all about perspective. We also look at social and kind of show you, okay, here's where your business falls. You've got 595 likes in social. The industry average in your industry is this. Here you've got around in terms of your industry leaders, this is what's happening. And so this is super helpful. This is super helpful. So you are able to then make that assessment and determine, okay, here's what we need to work on improving. Once you generate this report and you get access to our digital hub, you're going to be able to connect some of these data sources. If you want to be able to maintain this assessment month over month, you are able to see exactly what is working and what's not working, so you can fix it. You're going to get, again, you're going to get this as a website assessment once you generate that report, and it's going to talk about your content. How are you doing? So we've been able to put, for example, in this particular case, we've been able to put more than one competition here. And so the system is just comparing what's happening on the competition and what's happening with your business. And it shows you, okay, here's what's happening. So you're super fast. You've got a 1.9 seconds loading. Or on your mobile, though, you've got a pretty slow, and it needs to be fixed. So you've got a 6.8 seconds loading there. And so you can now begin to address these things. So there are core web vitals that look at particular content. How long does it take for like the largest element on your site to actually load? How is the interactivity? How is your visual stability? And so you get these grades to then fix on improving them. And it shows you as well a detailed list, right? Just like what we saw in GT metrics, which is another tool. It shows you what you need to work on and what you should consider fixing and what's good to go. All right. And so you can look at this and you can begin to work on solving these issues here. Really, really awesome. And this puts you in a position of just known, like you're going to be at this place, which is above average, because most people don't really know what's happening with their digital presence, their website, because they don't pay attention to these details. If you really want to succeed here, you've got to pay attention to these. And even if you're at a B, I mean, you know, this is a real client, but we've got folks who are at a B already and is still asking for help. And this is kind of how ambitious you should be with your own digital presence as well. So we look at e-commerce. Again, if you're not doing any e-commerce on your site, we can always remove that. But that's an important category that we look at. And then we look at advertising to kind of see, okay, what's happening on Google Ads. If you're advertising on Google, what are some of the keywords? And we share with you keywords that are possibly likely if you were to start doing an ad. You get estimated possible clicks and so forth. But this is because you'll then connect these sources, whether your Google Ad, your Google Analytics, your Google Console, your Google My Business, they're connected into your report, and it will allow you to see more data. And then there's also that SEO piece. So you've got the local search results, and it's kind of like what is happening locally, like what are people looking for in your area. If you're customer facing and you want people to visit your location, here's an opportunity. We use near me as a keyword because most people use that, and you're actually able to see in your area. So this is Wisconsin in New Richmond, and you can see what are people actually searching for and how are you actually getting ranked in Google Maps and so forth, as an example. We look at organic search, you know, how are people finding you organically? And the report's going to also cover this piece of your audit. You want to understand what are the search terms, what are the estimated search traffic, what's the estimated value of a search traffic, and then your value of your organic clicks. And this is so helpful that you should not literally, if you want to improve your digital presence, you can't live without a report like this. You can't live without an assessment like this that constantly gives you this. And what's beautiful about this, we have developed this in a way where we send you every Monday. You will get an executive report every Monday morning to give you a full picture as to what happened in the last week. And that's really going to help you to stay on top of your digital presence. So this is exciting. So again, go and grab a copy of the report yourself. I mean, this is a kind of report that has a $500 value on it. I mean, it's no cost to you to go in and actually generate one and kind of see where you're at. But we always like to talk about other tools, right? Where if you don't enjoy a report like that, you can always go to some of the other tools, and GT metrics, like the one I talked about, they provide some great feedback as well. You can use those. HubSpot Website Grader can also do something similar. But at least for this tool or Digital Hub, you actually have someone who you know, unless you know someone in HubSpot who you can reach out to and say, hey, how can we actually fix this issue? Who do we need to talk to? That's actually something that you can do with us. I mean, you know me, I suppose you might know of me, or you know about us. You can always reach out and say, hey, I'd like to talk about how we might be able to fix it. If you can't fix this yourself, again, this is not to ask you to use our tool. This is to show you what you can do to improve your presence. If we come up in that conversation because you need help, of course, you can always reach out and let us know if you need some help. And yeah, so we will have the recording available if you are here on the call. we'll be able to share that with you so you can have a look at it. The other piece that we want to look at is the competition audit. So we also do an audit of the competition, right? It's important. You're not the only one in the world doing this kind of business, and there's got to be some kind of alternative. It's always amazing when you hear people say, well, there's nobody else that's doing what I do. And we said, well, that's pretty amazing, but what are the alternatives? If we're not using you, who are we using? If we're not buying from you, who are we buying from? If we're not calling you, who are we calling? And you might not see them as a competition, but forget about the word competition for now. The idea is, what are the alternatives? And so we might call this an alternative audit. Who are these people? Why don't we take a look at these people and see exactly what they particularly have that we might not have? And so you gain these insight from these alternative analysis. So you use a tool like a SpyFu, or you use a tool, for example, like a Facebook ad library. And I want to take you to Facebook ad library real quick, just so that you could see. Simply go to Google and you can type Facebook ads library, and you can see, for those of you who have never done this kind of a competition audit before, you can actually go to Facebook ads library and you can find ads from a competition that you're in business competing against. So, for example, we were looking at an organization here, which was around the software that we were looking at, which is the Launch Darkly. So if we go to Launch Darkly, and we know, okay, for Launch Darkly, we're basically looking at software, and their software developer, they produce a tool to help you to actually launch. You could take that information and you could go to the Facebook ad library, and you could actually start searching for a specific category. So we're going to look in the United States for all ads. Of course, you can also do this right across the world as well. So you could choose all countries, but we are in the US and we're competing in the US, or wherever you might be. You might be in the Caribbean, you might be in South America. You choose your location, and then you can look and to see, like, who are some of the folks that are probably doing any advertisement out here. So I can put Launch Darkly and see, are these guys actually doing any ads? Are they running any ads? And you see here, oh wow, well, we see that this this competitor is running ads, and what kind of ads are they actually running? So you can see here we've got an active ad that was running as of July 20, and you can see what the ad is, and it gives you perspective. Again, it gives you, these are alternatives. So if you're competing against Launch Darkly, this will allow you to see what they're actually doing, how they're actually driving attention to their product, and who else is doing that, right? And so you can take a look, take a deep dive into the ads, click on details. You can see exactly what they're actually doing. They're promoting an ebook. You can see how that's how the ad is. So you see exactly, and Facebook had to do this for transparency purposes. So you get a shot at looking at the alternatives and seeing, oh wow, this is like you spying on the competition, seeing exactly what's been done, and see how can you actually level up, or how can you adapt to what's happening here. So this is something that we particularly like to do, and we encourage you to actually do it as well. You can put the name of the competition, you can put the terms or the service, and you can do that. So if we, I don't know if there's folks in here, let's say digital marketing. If you put digital marketing in here and you hit search, and I promise you, you're going to certainly see a number of digital marketing companies who are advertising on Facebook, and you get to see exactly what are people trying to promote, what are people trying to do here. There's a social ubiquity promoting, if you're looking for a marketing agency, there's this.com, there's Running Board Marketing, and like these are people who are trying to also get customers like yourself, and you can use it. So tap into this tool and see exactly what can you do that's different. Are you going to run an ad just like this or better? What makes you want to click on any of these ads? Which one do you like? Which one do you prefer? And this is super helpful. And so that would be the other tool. Now, like I said, we don't have a lot of time to go through every single tool, but you can look at SpyFu as well as another tool to as the word suggests, spy on your competition and see exactly what's going on there. And again, it's not always about doing what your competition is doing. I always suggest that just don't do worse than what they're doing. I mean, you can either be exactly like them in terms of equal, doing what they're doing, but always strive to do something different. And we always used to say, if your competition is doing X, don't do it, just do Y, because people are not looking for similarities, they're looking for differences. People buy you, or people interact and engage with you because you're different, right? People are looking for different experiences and different ways to interact. And so if you have something to offer that's unlike the alternatives, that's a big part of why people would call you. And knowing that everybody's not your customer, you understand what the alternatives are and you be that difference, you be distinctive. That will certainly help you to grow digitally as well. And so lastly, just as we wind down here, because I'd love to take, if you've got a question, good time to throw it in the chat. I want to talk about social media audits as well. And social media is big, right? And so we're all in social media. You saw the tool that I shared just now, how it covers the social media aspects of things. And this is why we are helping you to understand social. So when you look at this report, when you generate the report and you look at how are we faring as it relates to social, this is a big part of your digital presence strategy. You've got to be on social, you've got to engage, and you've got to be present there. And so the report shows you where you are and what you'll need to be able to fix. And this is just one tool. Again, other tools that you can use, of course, you can use something like a Sprout Social or a Buffer Analyze, a Mention. I mean, there's so many tools that helps you to understand your engagement, your impressions, your conversions, and your clicks. And you can tap into them. You might be on all the social media out there. You might just be on one or two. You might be looking for what other social media you should be on. Should you go on a TikTok or should you go on? I mean, that's going to be a question that you will have to answer depending on who you're serving and where those customers spend time, right? But if you understand how they're different, then you can understand how to measure them, which allows you to find the right tools to be able to do that. So tap into that, and you can use one of those tools and have that experience. What we do with the Digital Hub is we bring all of this in one place. So we're not, you don't have to go to 4 different places to see how you're holistically doing. We're bringing all of this into a single hub, and we're sending you this report on a weekly basis. So that's super helpful. If time is against you, if convenience is something you're actually looking for, and if you want to create more efficiency around how do we make better of for digital presence without having to be exhaustive around all these different tools. And it can be exhausting. I mean, having used hundreds of tools in the past, like just having all of these things that you have to do, a one-stop shop, an all-in-one kind of space to help you to get as much as possible is only going to help you. And then there's the analytics tool. What are you doing to measure what you are actually doing online? How are you measuring that? If you can't measure it, for us, we always don't like to do it. If we can't measure it, we don't like to do it because it doesn't give us, again, perspective on how do we fix, how do we amplify, how do we modify. And so you want to audit your analytics in terms of how are we measuring what we're actually doing? Where are we getting the data from? How are we aggregating all this data? So you want to measure your social media, of course, your SEO, your paid outreach, your email. You want to measure all of them for traffic, for conversion, for performance. And you're going to need a place where you can see all of these things. And so we love Google Data Studio, for example, because that's a place where you could literally customize where you want the data to come from, how you want to review this. So that's a great tool. If you haven't used that one, you can look at Google Data Studio. You can look at Google Analytics. Google Analytics is great. but it doesn't go to the extent where you have some of the other analytics tool does for you, but it's a good place to start. So if you don't have that, start today with that. If you don't have a Google Data Studio and you want to get more out of your data, you can also do that. So when we build data dashboards, we pull information from Google Analytics. We're also pulling it from other places. So you have one place, again, that's very convenient for you to be able to see how you're performing. And you can go and you can get those things fixed. On the Digital Hub, we like to actually share with you the data analytics. And you see that as we showed you the example of the tool. Of course, pixels, they're great as well to help you to analyze what's happening. So ensure that you have Pixel installed on your website. You can use something like Pixel Helper. If you Google Pixel Helper, it can actually show you what pixels you actually have on your site. If you go to your browser like Google Chrome, you can search for pixels, and you get pixels across all these social media channels. If I believe all of them, I've never been on all of them, but I believe the majority of them. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, they all have pixels. You can install these pixels onto your website and follow the data, because the data is going to tell you what's going on and what you need to do to improve on your digital presence. And so I'm gonna stop here with email audit, which is another piece of audit that really allows you to look at what are we doing to facilitate communication with our audience. Do we have a list management in place? Are we doing personalization? Are we segmenting emails? How are we doing with bounce rates and open rates and click rates, conversion rates? People are unsubscribing. Do we have any automation, any triggers? So when you go on a website like we were doing earlier with the Wapalizer tool, you saw where there's automation that might be in there, where people are given the opportunity on the website to leave their data, sign up for a newsletter, sign up for new products or so. That actually goes back into your CRM, and that way you can now begin to have those conversations, right? And so for email audit, you want to look at transactional email, customer service email, workflow. Do you actually have an email workflow that helps you to facilitate the management of your email contacts? And some of the tools that are popular, you may or may not know about some of them. It's your email marketing software. It's one of the places that you'll go to really assess exactly how things are working. MailChimp, I think we might have all heard of MailChimp. Constant Contact, Klaviyo. You can use Klaviyo if you're particularly, for example, e-commerce. Active Campaign, Mautic as an open source tool. So there are a number of tools that you can use to facilitate your email marketing audit. And so that's where I'll stop. I'm going to take any questions that you might have. If you'd like to have a conversation around kind of how do we capitalize on these tools. I've used these tools. We've used these tools to help people grow their business digitally. You can too. This is why we're showing you, because we want you to succeed. You can go and you can do this on your own. If you run into what we call a wall, then you can ask for help, and we're happy to help. So if you've got any questions, we'll take it. Again, if you'd like to have a discussion with us, please type meeting into the chat and we'll set up a conversation with you. It's really within the next 24 hours we'll connect with you, but it doesn't mean that we're clients. So no pressure. It's really just a conversation on how you can continue to develop what you're already developing. If you know someone in your network that might value a conversation like this, put referral in the chat. And if you'd like for me to have a conversation with a group, put speaking in the chat. And of course, if you've got questions, happy to talk about them. If none of those things apply to you, you can just put no. Again, we'll love you from a distance. We'll still send you your emails. You'll still see us, and we're still happy to have you around. But this was just to help you at least to understand what we're thinking in terms of assessment in Q2. So as you get ready to do an assessment for Q3, which is going to happen in October, we'll have another webinar in October, and we'd like to look at how have we done in Q3. So now if you start auditing now, that data that you have, you can now measure up against that at the end of October in Q3 as you begin to look at how did you fare. And so that's it for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We will reach out to you if you indicate that you'd like to chat some more. But if you have no questions, we'll give you a second or two. If you've got a question and you want to come off mute and ask it, then that's fine. If not, we'll actually end the call shortly. So let us know if you have anything that you'd like to share in the chat or here within the next 36 seconds. All right, so I think sounds good. I think we're all good. It feels like I did an excellent job because no one had questions, but feel free to, we'll make this recording available to you. Feel free to generate your own report from our digital hub and allow you to see exactly what we talked about. And then you can allow your web team or your marketing team to help you to fix those issues. So until next time, I'm Ricardo with the MI Group, and thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you again in another time, in another place where we talk more about how you can measure what you're actually doing with your digital presence online. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, and we'll speak soon.